Talk Brooklyn.
Yes, once again, we got another one.
Another one.
I'm your boy, Eddie Mizzle.
I'm Chi.
And welcome to Foul
Talk
Brooklyn. Ooh. All right. We got a guest in the house tonight.
Goes by the name of...
Dave Cortes.
Dave Cortes, y'all! Woo! All right, so now, boom. Dave. Let me just say something.
Let's welcome Dave.
Welcome, Dave. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Most likely, if you have children, if you have toys or anything in your house, most likely,
this is the guy you want
this is the guy that made the shit. So, put your hands together for that shit. Come on, guys. Like, goddamn it.
So
this guy's everywhere, but you know what I mean?
So you said if you got children, this is the guy that made the children.
This guy that made the children. What are you talking about? I didn't say toys?
You said children.
I said children. I said toys, right?
Yeah.
Come on, you
fucking...
Anyway, Dave, welcome.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, Dave.
Appreciate you coming.
Happy to be here, man.
So let's get into it.
First of all, classic. That's a classic piece right there. Classic piece. Spidey. Made by you. Distributed by what? Toy Biz or something?
Yeah, this is Toy Biz.
That is Toy Biz, right?
Yeah.
Toy Biz. Big names.
Let's get to from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Where
Right. So when I first met you, Dave.
Yeah.
You were sculpting with clay.
Yep. Yeah.
How many years ago was this?
Oh man, that was like 30 years ago, man.
Wow.
Because like I'm 48 and I started dabbling with clay in 19. So yeah, it's like, 29, 30 years now.
30 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we were, we grew up together. I don't know if,
Yeah, man.
people don't know that.
What got you into doing the toys?
Shit, man. I always used to draw. And, from a young age, I remember drawing all the time. And then I got into painting. And then when I was like 18, 19, I was like, I had these ideas for paintings and shit. And I could never execute it. Like the idea I had in my head when I started messing with the canvas and stuff, it wouldn't come out. It just wasn't matching the ideas I had. But once I got a handle of clay, I was able to execute the ideas or the characters I had in clay.
Okay.
So I was like, this is the medium for me, Okay. So then I just forgot about painting, drawing, and I just sculpted.
What made you get into the sculpting with the clay? Did somebody introduce you to it, or was it?
That's a good question, man. Because I was in school, and I went to school of visual arts for 2 years. Okay. And when I was there, they give you everything. They give you, hey, paint, draw, animation, and then I had a sculpting class.
Right.
And then they, said, here's some clay, and I started messing with that. I was like, shit, this is easy. For me,
Right. For you.
It felt like the right medium for me, and that's pretty much how I got introduced to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. We're just away from that real quick.
Yeah.
When you did this Spidey, right?
Yeah.
Did you like the points of movement?
Yep.
Every point. Did you tell them how many points of movement?
No.
Or did they tell you how many points of movement that they wanted?
They tell me, yeah. That's pretty
you.
much the way it is. Like when they want something, they say, yo, this character has to be 18 inches tall. We want to try to make 67 points of articulation. That's what he has.
67 points of articulation,
which is nuts, man.
Break that down for the people that don't know, which is the movement and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like every joint, if you think of the shoulder, right? It's rotating and it's pivoting. So that's two. Yeah, so you got this right here lifting up like that, and then you got it rotating this way. Then you got the next bicep joint, which is pivoting that way.
That's another one.
Then you have 2 points right here. So this one's a really tight figure here, but when you see a figure like this, sometimes they advertise it. It'll be like this one doesn't have it, but there'll be like
by the
30
way, y'all,
points
this
of
is
articulation.
Fortnite, right? You can say that. By the way, y'all, this is Fortnite. Big names, Jaquan, and your boy did this too. And how many points is this? This is only
that's probably maybe 30.
30?
Yeah, 30. Can you imagine that has a lot for a tiny figure. But this is unheard of. You don't really see this these days because all the fingers are articulated.
Oh, wow.
Every joint on the finger. This is rare. And then you had to make a figure 18 inches tall to do that. because you can't put these tiny fingers articulated on that, you know.
Right.
So
right,
the
right.
way to do it is make a bigger figure.
Right,
you know?
right. That's
But
cool.
this is one of my favorites because, you know, it had that many articulation points, and it also was one of the most challenging things. Like, I was doing a lot more simple shit but when they gave me this, I was like, yeah, I could do it. And then, you know,
This is an old piece.
just faked
now.
it until I made
This
it.
is an old piece.
Yeah, this
This
is really
is
old.
before.
Yeah.
That's
Before 3D printing.
Yeah, and 3D modeling. Yeah,
Right.
This is way before that. Yeah, it's all
Okay.
by hand.
So you had to present this in clay.
Yeah, presented in clay. Yep.
Each piece.
Each piece. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, if you think about molds, right? Like when you make something in clay, you got to mold everything. So this figure had like 50 pieces. It's 50
Molds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, so when you
shit.
cast in each figure, you know, then you got to assemble the whole thing. And that's just the prototype. Like you send in that, and then they got to then reproduce this in China. And it's a mess. Like this is a crazy complicated figure, right? The crazy thing about this is when it's sold, you know, this is like 18 years ago, right?
okay.
So at that time, plastic was cheap and everything. This figure was selling for like $15 at some point.
Wow.
And you'll never find it. Like now, this
That's
shit
like-
might
that's like
cost $15.
15. That thing's
Yeah.
probably like
Right,
80
yeah.
bucks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many hours you
Yeah.
put into that figure?
Yo, I actually did this crazy fast. I mean, I think it might have been
5 months?
No, 5 months.
No?
This was like 3 weeks.
Get the
Yeah.
fuck out of here. Each mold and everything?
The whole thing, start to finish. Yeah.
That's with clay you're talking
Yeah.
about, right?
So it's like the clay sculpture, then molding it, then casting it, and then somebody else paints it. You know, but that whole process was less than a month. You know, for this.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like
Amazing.
I don't even know how it was done. To be honest, you know, it's like
Amazing.
it's a blur.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy shit. So,
Yeah.
back. I didn't mean to sidetrack off, but I'm just fascinated. You know what I'm saying? Because I recognize the points. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The points of articulation.
Yeah, some people are into that. Some people are just into statues. You know, it's a different thing. But to me, articulation was like the challenge. You know, how do you make
That's
it move
the challenge. Yeah.
and still make it look good? You know, have all the muscles flow and the anatomy flows, and you know, it was
Yeah,
a
that's
nice
crazy.
challenge then.
That's,
you know?
that's definitely
Like
crazy.
what the fuck? You know what I mean? But yeah.
So what's the difference between the clay and the 3D printing? I know
Yeah.
3D printing is a lot easier.
It's
Right?
There are a lot of advantages, man. Think about like when you make this in the digital, right? Like all I have to do is sculpt one side, really, and then I can mirror it over.
Okay.
That's a huge advantage
Right,
because in
right.
clay I had to sculpt the left side and then sculpt the
So
right
it's
side.
half the
The
process,
whole-
basically.
Half the time.
And they had to be
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah. But the challenge is, man, the shit that's harder digital is that you can't feel it, you can't handle it. So when you're making these articulations and the aesthetics, you don't even really know if it's gonna work until you print it. And then you
Okay.
print it and it's something else, you know. It's like
Oh,
you, all of a sudden you're like, damn, this doesn't work as good, you know. You don't have that hands-on feel until it comes out, until it's printed.
Right,
So
right.
you're working on the computer the whole time,
Okay.
and you know it looks three-dimensional, and you can kind of figure out where things are, but it's nothing like having it in your hands.
Right.
So it's different. It's like some things are, you know, you get some advantages and some disadvantages.
Right,
you know?
right.
But it's definitely faster, for
Definitely
sure.
faster.
But you got to really, I feel like if you have the background of clay and stuff like that, it's going to be easier.
Right.
If you're going straight to digital, you know, you still could be, you know, a dope artist, but it's
It's
going to
like
be a
cheating
different.
nowadays, right?
I mean, you know what? I can't say, you know, it's cheating. I see where you're coming from, and
Right.
you know, like people might think that, but it's a different discipline. You know, it's like somebody who is good with, you know,
Analog.
yeah, exactly, analog and digital. Like, you know, like you are gonna get some things, you know,
Right.
for free in a sense, right?
It's
like
more
some
user
things-
friendly.
yeah,
and
like you
the-
know,
the-
especially with beats, with the analog and digital,
Right.
like you're gonna get all these like presets and shit, and then you can manipulate that. It gives you a jump start, but you still have to be creative, and you still have to have like a sense of like composition, like how I'm gonna put this together, make it
right.
original.
You still need
It's
to
a
know
different
how.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different animal. You
Understand
know,
compression and you know.
it's just like that, man. It's crazy how similar it is. Like all the shit that went from analog to digital.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you look at cameras,
Yeah.
like you know, like you know, going and you know, like Danny going into this dark room and you know using chemicals and then now you just print it on a you know.
Yeah.
But you still have to have a good eye for it, you know,
Right, right.
regardless. You know,
Danny,
even if you use
the end result.
Danny Hastings.
Yes,
Anyway.
sorry.
Danny Hastings.
Yeah, I like to give him a shout.
Yes, big
because
shout out to
Danny
Danny.
is a
It's a monster.
yeah, he's a monster. He also like gave me an opportunity a long time ago. Man.
Yeah, let's talk about that real
Yeah.
quick. Let's talk about that real
Yeah.
quick.
That's cool.
That was what? That was
23 years ago.
23 years ago.
Yeah.
Were you still?
I just started messing with the toy work. Just started. Like I was just getting with. I was like a year into working for a company called Mcfarland Toys. So
Mcfarland Toys, another big name.
Another big company. Yes.
Spawn.
Yeah.
You did Spawn.
Well, I didn't. No, I didn't. Actually, I never sculpted a Spawn character. But always like a secondary character, like the clown. I sculpted. You know, like the alternate version of the Spawn character, but never the Spawn character because at the time there was like seniority there. So the dude that was there was great, talented dude. He would get first dibs on Spawn characters. But I take the secondary and I try to make them look cool.
That's still good though. You know what I mean? Like, you kidding me? Like,
yeah. It's like, you know, how you make the unimportant character, you really stand out. You know, so that was a nice challenge, you know. And then also you get more freedom. Because it's not, you know, like, you can mess with it more, right? Like a Spawn, you're going to have to stay within some boundaries because it's Spawn. Okay. But when it's the other character, nobody's looking at that. They're like, whatever. And you can sneak some shit in there. Right. You know? Right. So I like that rather, you know?
So Mcfarland,
a little more freedom.
Mcfarland, you started with
That was my first gig, yeah.
First gig, Mcfarland Toys.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah, so
he not only did Spawns, he did baseballs.
Oh my God, yeah.
You did those too?
No, I did work on a lot of baseball shit, hockey shit, but baseball I worked on a bunch, you know, and the one I remember the most is Reggie Jackson because I started to lose interest because, look, I mean, Reggie Jackson's fucking legend, right? Yeah, but I had no interest in making sports figures because it's repetitive. Like, you're just doing a dude with a sports uniform, right? Okay. And it always looks the same. It could be anybody.
It wasn't too challenging for you.
Yeah. I was going from these cool monsters, and then he bought the license for sports, and then suddenly I'm sculpting hockey. And I wasn't even into hockey. So that was even harder. At least baseball, I was like, oh, you know, some baseball, you know, names I knew. But the hockey was, like, really far removed. And then it was the same shit with making pads and shit like that, and you reuse all that stuff because it's the same, right? But it was dope because it gave me, it was the ultimate school. Like, Mcfarland Toys was the college that really gave me the education for toy making. Because I didn't learn that in the SVA. You know, I went to School of Visual Arts for 2 years, and I had to drop out. It was too expensive. But after that, I got that job at Mcfarland, and there, I learned everything about making action figures and toys. Nice. I was there 2 years.
Wow. How did you get to start dealing with them?
So this is cool because I was just talking about this the other day, and I'm glad you're asking because I like to mention. But, so, you know, growing up in the neighborhood, to me it was like, all right, who I'm gonna sculpt subject matter wise. To me it was always who was popular in the neighborhood, and you know, in the sense it was like, you know, hip hop. Right? It was fucking Tupac and you know, Biggie.
You did a Tupac, right?
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And so that was the thing. It was like I was taking like the characters that we all knew, because I was sculpting for us. I was trying to impress my friends, my peers, you know. I was like, oh, let me do Tupac. I know John loves Tupac, and, you know, maybe if I hit it right, it's going to hit him in the spot. Like, oh, he's going to be like, oh, shit, that's cool.
Right.
And so that was on my mind. I want to do characters that... So I did Rodman, because at the time, Rodman, the Bulls, you know. Yeah. Again, the secondary, I didn't want to do Jordan. I'd do Rodman. He's more of a character, better for, you know, a figure. And so my portfolio was Tupac, Tyson, Dennis Rodman.
That's great.
Charles Oakley from the Knicks.
Oh, yeah. Another monster.
Yeah, and all these, you know, like urban characters. And then Mcfarland was like, if you got a portfolio, you know, there was an ad, right? So I had to show them my portfolio. And I'm thinking, like, they're not going to get it, man. They don't even probably know these characters. They're not going to see if I was, like, getting the essence of them. So it was kind of weird for me to show.
And you had to make up a portfolio?
Exactly.
Or you had one already?
No, that was... My portfolio ended up being those characters that I had.
You figured they wasn't going to see your vision, but they actually
because you know how it is. It's like, they might... who's this character? You know, I mean, of course, Rodman, they probably know, and Tyson. Yeah, yeah. But then, you know, like, I was like, they're going to get it with Tupac sitting on the crate? You know, because my thing was, like, I'm going to make him, in that moment, like, he's pouring out some of the 40, you know, for the brothers that passed before. And then he's sitting on the crate, and he's having this moment where he's thinking, and he's just in that zone. And I knew we would get it. Right, like, if I showed you, you'd be like, oh, shit. Yeah. But then I was like, how are they going to, you know, what are they going to see? Like, why is he on the crate? Right. So it was kind of funny for me, but they were able to look past that, and they saw that I had some sculpting ability. Right. And then they were like, all right, we know you can sculpt, but can you sculpt, you know, action figure or a monster or, you know, whatever they were doing. Right. And then they gave me a test. And, you know, he was like, here, take this, go home, sculpt it, here's a check, $1,500, you know, we'll give you a deposit. And I'm like, damn, you're gonna give me $1,500 to sculpt at home? That was the dream job.
That was.
Yeah, it was like, you know, because what I was doing before that, it was like.
At what age was you at that time?
I was 24 years old.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
and look, man, I before that, right? It was like, you know, this is a little more like personal to the neighborhood, but I was lucky that I had a gig from, you know, people we knew that were just like, you know, oh, you could sculpt, I'll pay you to sculpt this, you know, figure. Right. And then, like, I already had that support going, which was crazy, you know. Like, I was like, all right, I'll do it, you know. But, you know, other than, if I didn't have that, I don't know how I would have really, like, done it, really. Because you need to pay for it.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? I had no job. And, I mean, I would do this regardless on my own time. But it was always better to have a little bit of money so that keep that motivation up. It always helps, you know.
Did you see the vision in... like the longevity of being a career for yourself?
Oh,
like,
not at all.
Did you think you was gonna be getting paid the big bucks?
Nah, not at all, man.
No?
It was always like, yo, man, I get a job, right? This is how I said, like, I would get a gig, and I said, damn, if I can only get one more, and then I finished that, and they give me another one. Then I said, if I can only get two more, and then I remember saying in my head, like clear as day, it's like, if I could only get a year of work. And then I got that year, and then I started getting a little greedy. I was like, if I could get 3 years. And then it was like, that's 7. And then it was like adding. And then I look back, and I'm like, oh, shit, I've been doing this 10 years.
Oh, fuck.
And then here I am, 22, 3 years later. It's crazy.
Working on...
You're the same shit.
Working
really?
on what, Dave?
Oh, like, you know, Marvel.
Oh, what the fuck, Dave?
Yeah. You know, but the work that I'm most proud of, I gotta say, is those series. Like I did Hellboy. You know,
that was my question. I was gonna ask
that was one of my favorites. You know, like Hellboy's a project that was so weird. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't Spider-Man or Wolverine or Hulk. It was just its own thing.
Why what Hellboy?
Because like the guy that was Mezco from Mezco Toys, the owner Mez, he got the license to do that. Okay. And honestly, like at that time, nobody was looking at those because the movie was coming out. Mm-hmm. But people were like, what is this?
Yeah,
it's not,
what is this? Okay.
You know, Marvel shit. It's not Punisher.
Right.
So nobody really like was thinking about the impact that, you know, figures, you know, but if you think about how cool that looks, this Red Devil dude,
yeah,
come on, man.
Definitely.
Was that Dark Horse?
Mezco made it, but it's a Dark Horse comic.
It is.
Yeah,
Dark Horse comic, right?
Definitely Dark Horse comic. Yeah, Mike Mignola's
not
artist.
Image.
Nah, not Image. Yeah, so, but yeah, like I've been all over the place. You know, Ninja Turtles, all the Marvel stuff, DC stuff. I was fortunate to have my hands on all that shit. You know.
All right, so when I said, you know, what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Now, you like Marvel. What big Marvel thing are you doing right now?
Oh man, so that's.
Oh, is it Marvel?
Yeah.
I don't even think is it Marvel?
It's Marvel for sure. Like Disney, you know, bought it. It's like, you know, they have the money. They bought it, right? So Disney owns Marvel. But if you think about Marvel, right? Like, yo, this is going back from, you know, 60s, you know, even earlier, and you know, you got these artists from New York, you know, Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, you know, Jack Kirby, and these guys are making these characters that change the world of entertainment. You know, think about it. Like anywhere in the world you go and you say Captain America, they know.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But that was pre-Disney. You know, Disney jumped on a moving train. You know.
Like Disney just got on like what 5 years ago? What?
Well, maybe more than that.
8, 10 years ago.
It might have been like maybe closer to 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing that is that this shit was well established already, right? And then if you think about the history and like, you know, like the impact comics has, you know, because I personally, I didn't grow up reading comics. Right. Like I loved the artwork, and I used to buy them to try to draw, you know, sculpt them, but I didn't know the story so much.
Right.
And then now, you know, as I got older and I was working on the projects and I'd hear the stories, like, damn, that's really cool. You know, like I had this newfound appreciation as I was, you know, getting older for this. But people grew up with this, and this is like their Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the shit. So anyway, my point is that, you know, I was involved with this Captain America statue that's over here in Sunset, right? And it's an industry city.
Right.
And
have you ever seen it?
Yeah,
I've seen it.
Bronze one. It should be outside for one, right?
It should definitely be outside.
Yeah, why?
It's inside.
It's inside. It's
Yeah.
essentially in a mall.
Actually,
maybe it's to preserve it. Because if they put it outside, it's going to turn green.
No, but that's okay.
Is it copper?
Bronze. It's bronze,
right?
It's bronze. But you know what? It's okay. Like, you know, these things oxidize, but they look cool. The thing was, it was made to be outside.
Okay.
The issue is that, commercial things like that, like city don't want that thing. They don't want to. This is where I'm getting to, like with the Disney thing, is like they feel like if they putting up a Captain America statue in a park, that they're doing free advertising for Disney. But no, you're honoring the New Yorkers.
The kid from Brooklyn.
So the city actually probably want to get paid for it, basically.
I wonder that, right? Because you're right.
If they're not getting paid, they don't want it there.
True. Yep, that's true. It has a lot to do with
advertising.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, especially if the company is using it that way. Like, oh, did you see our statue? That's one thing. But right now I met this dude, Larry Ng, that is really like, he just called me out of the blue. He's like, hey, I heard you made the Captain America statue, and what my studio did was we made the prototype, right, the maquette for it. We made the sculpture, and then that was blown up to 13 feet tall. But that was done overseas. Okay. But the design is, we're responsible for that as far as the sculpture goes.
But that's your design, right?
Yeah, it's not like like we casted it, because people are like,
right,
where'd you cast that?
Right, they just blew it up and cast
exactly.
it. It's still your.
Yeah, it's like we made this, and it looks exactly the same, but then now they've made this 13 feet tall.
Right.
But the thing with that is that.
Put mine on too.
Yeah, I thought so. So then the thing is that like what we ended up doing, like I had to kind of like have
I'm sorry.
no, it's all right. Yeah, I had to have I had to follow the rules as far as like this is what Disney wanted, which is cool. It's an anniversary sculpt or whatever. But now this guy Larry, he's starting this campaign. He wants to have this Spider-Man statue. And that's why I kind of brought this one to segue into that. And he wants to have that in Queens, because the whole story of Spider-Man is he always been from Forest Hill, Queens.
Right.
They're from the origin, like so. Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, they created this character and they wanted him to be from Queens. And then it's always referenced in every Spider-Man movie.
Right.
And the cool thing is that to me it's like now the modern day like heroes are these characters. I mean look, in the past, and you had Greek sculptures, and you had Nike, Poseidon.
Right.
You had these sculptures of them, but those were kind of like the comic characters back then for those guys.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So right now, I think you got to get Disney out of your head, because these things were created way before that.
Right.
And kind of honor these creators. I think I of course I'm biased to it because I want to see it happen, but I'm sure a lot of people want to see this thing happen. But I'm thinking that we got to change the narrative of this whole thing being like a commercial thing, because I think it goes beyond that. Because like these characters have done so much for New York. Like people who live here and they see these characters and they hear about they're from there. They kind of, it's like Seinfeld. People come here to get a tour.
Yeah.
People want to go to Queens to see where Spider-Man's from.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting, but I think that it's not a like the first round people were against the Captain America. But I could understand that, because that was definitely like attached to Disney. This time around, this is an art piece. This is not really like, it's not commissioned by Disney. We're doing this separate. We're going to raise the money independently. Nice. And hopefully, if the people want this, But I think there's enough people that want this.
Yeah, I think that's that's awesome. I think that's awesome.
That's up.
Yeah.
You mentioned Danny Hastings, and you was about to get into it.
Oh yeah. We didn't even get into it, right?
You forgot
let me talk about that, because Daniel just had this auction for his prints for the Nas album cover. So Danny Hastings
is a photographer.
Okay. And he photographed every hip hop artist, like 20 years ago, and still going.
Right.
Even probably more than that, actually. But when I met him, it was because he was doing the Nas I Am album. And the idea that these guys had is, I guess it was a discussion
Nas I Am.
Yeah, I guess it was a discussion between Nas and Danny that he wanted to be a pharaoh, Egyptian pharaoh.
Right.
And then Danny gave me a call. He's like, "Yo, could you make an Egyptian pharaoh mask? Like a real one with Nas's face?" And I was 24, because I was already working in Mcfarland, and I was like, "Hell yeah, I could do it." I was like, I really didn't know how I was gonna do it, but in my head I kind of knew.
You got the confidence though.
Yeah, because I was like, that's the kind of thing that like I would never do it on my own.
Right.
But I know it can be done if and then plus I was getting paid, so I was like, yeah, I can make it happen. And then I really got into it, and the cool thing is that they were able to. Not so cool at the time, but we had a deadline. It was like 3 weeks, and then it was like in order to get it done quicker, we were gonna make a mold of Nas's face, like just take alginate mold of his face, and then cast his face, and then I was gonna resculpt his face, and then build a whole mask around it. And I was like, yo, I could do it. If I'm not sitting there making a sculpture of his face, it's giving me a huge jump start. And then I was already messing with my own shit just for personal things, stained glass. So I knew the jewels. Okay. I was just gonna go get some stained glass that looked like all those jewels and shit. Okay. And then the rest was just gonna be clay painted gold. Right. And I pulled it off. And then when I brought the piece in, it was all right. It didn't look great. And then Daniel was having some hard times photographing because this is hard to photograph gold. It's like a reflective surface. Okay. It's a whole
lighting.
It's so different than from what he told me, because like I never thought about it. But he was like, I'm lighting for skin and all that, and this now is just so. But when he nailed it, it was beautiful. And it even and it even helped the sculpture, because the sculpture was not perfect. You know what I'm saying? But then with everything else,
a little bit of Photoshop.
They photoshopped the eyes.
Yeah, photoshopped the eyes in. Yeah, those are Naz's eyes.
I think Ola could in the sculpture. I don't know if you guys know Ola, but he did the Photoshop work, I believe, or maybe between him and Daniel. I don't even really know.
I learned a lot of Photoshop through Danny.
Yeah. Well, Danny was always up on that tip of like technology, like with software. Yeah. Okay. I was like, at that time I wasn't even looking at computers for that. Like I just wanted a digital camera to photograph my clay, and that was it. But Daniel was already messing with After Effects, Photoshop, and then we did some other projects together. But the cool thing was that like that piece, when I was doing all that stuff, like I saved everything, So when I casted his face, something told me like, just save it. And then moving around and shit, throwing it in storage, it got beat up, but I still had it. And then they were having this auction last week, and we were gonna include this face casting. But Sotheby's rejected it because it had mold. So I was like, damn, man.
That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks because,
But I guess it's good to keep it, though.
Yeah. I don't mind having it.
Who got the gold?
No, I destroyed that, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, because what happened is I made that shit so fast, right? And it was cheaply made. It was good for the photo shoot. But then, it was this clay that you bake. And it was so big, it was life size. Mm-hmm. So how I baked that clay, because I sculpted the whole thing in this, this oven-baked clay. And my oven, it didn't even fit. You know what I did? I left the door open. I built this aluminum foil extension.
A regular oven you took about?
Regular. Wow. And I had this like aluminum foil extension extending the oven. I had the whole thing in there. And I baked it for as long as I could. It was like 8 hours. And I figured, okay, that's good. And it felt good. It felt hard. And then when I sprayed it gold, after the photo shoot, and like a week later,
you seen the imperfections and stuff like that.
It started falling apart.
The moisture was coming through because the inside wasn't baked, so that moisture was coming through and the skin was bubbling. It looked crazy. And then Nas's people were like contacting me that they wanted it. Oh, and I think he was Long Island at the time. And then they were like, I was like, I'm not gonna give him this thing, man. It's falling apart.
But that's how they.
So I destroyed it.
That's how they do cars too. And if the body work is not good. When you spray paint it, that's when you can see all the imperfections after. It might look good before the paint job, but after the paint job, that's when the imperfections come out.
It's just like that. Yeah. It's like after that, and then who knows? Maybe they did so much more Photoshop because I think I saw some other photographs that Daniel took of like the different angles, and there was some cracks and stuff like that. But the cracks look cool, actually.
Right, okay.
It kind of made it look a little bit more like
but I guess a good photographer will do something like that.
Yeah. Hooked it up.
Man. Yeah, because you could blur cracks and all of that. You know what I'm saying with the sponge and all that. You know what I mean?
And that's Danny Hastings, right?
Yeah.
Danny Hastings. Shout out to him. I want to get him up here one day.
Yeah, definitely, man.
You know what I mean? That guy.
He's a legend. Oh no, I'm good, man. I have
sure?
my water. Yeah.
You said you wanted a shot.
No, I did already. I had one, but if I get another one, I'll be asleep here on the chair.
You good? You sure? You want it?
No, it's good. Thanks, man. I get dry as hell because that's me. Yeah. I mean, I'll take it and then.
Spider-Man.
So you said your favorite project was Hellboy, right?
It was one of my favorites.
What was another favorite?
Like, this is one of my favorites. Hellboy, some of the Hulks that I did.
The Hulks, okay.
Also, like, even some recent shit, like a lot of the Fortnite stuff. Because there's different challenges. Like, when I look at these things, like, there's always something about, one of these characters that stands out to me. Like, the challenge at the time.
Right.
So I usually, like, it's like... those are the memorable ones, the ones that were tough.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So getting into that, those were your favorites. How about your least favorite?
I think what sucks now, and I gotta say, is that there's less freedom to interpret, right? Because if you think about movies now, right, like any Marvel movies, like they have everything. So like when you get a gig to do like say Captain America now, you get in strict reference, and all you have to do is match it exactly like the movie. And in some cases, they'll have the digital files. So my least favorite projects are the ones that I like there's no room for interpretation. Like all this stuff back in the day, you know, you were using comic reference.
Right.
You know, you weren't using movies. So it was almost like a loose drawing. And then there's areas that you have to interpret, you know, like, well, what does his back really look like? Or what does the suit, you know, the stitch lines look like? Right. There's less of that.
So you really like to incorporate your own ideas into the projects.
And that doesn't happen too often these days, unfortunately. Once in a while.
Right.
And look, it's, you know, if the design is great, which most cases they are, I don't even want to fuck with it. Because it's like, all right, they did a great job. I'll just... Because that's the whole thing. Like, with the Hellboy stuff, the reason why I like that project is because that's straight up 2D. If you look at it, it's like, you know, real flat, you know, when, you know, the artwork. So it was my job to make that 3D, you know, like to model it out and keep those angles from every angle. And it was really
challenge.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you sound like a great person to work with, because you're not just working for the money. You basically
sometimes
you have passion in your work.
Yeah, some of the better jobs, the better figures,
that's lacking
they pay
nowadays.
nothing. Like the cool work never pays well. The easy, not easy, but like the boring work is usually the better paying gigs, or like the simple things, like, you know, you can get these like simple Disney characters. That might be a better gig financially.
Well, they probably look at it as, well, you know, we're giving you the opportunity to put this on your resume.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's how that's how see, the whole Mcfarland era for me, those 2 years gave me a kick-ass portfolio, man.
Ooh.
I was making characters that were like so crazy. So it was like, you know, now anybody who saw it could be like, oh, this dude could definitely do this and that. Like, they had some crazy characters, you know? Like, it was everything from movie maniacs to sports to comic
movie
characters.
Maniacs, that was the Killers, right?
Well, it could be anything from Snake Plissken to you know, Jason.
You did Snake Plissken?
I did, yeah.
That's
and then,
like one of my favorites, yo.
Yeah,
So
movie, man.
You would say Mcfarland catapult your career?
Big time.
Big time?
Yeah, I showed, like, to this day.
I'm sorry, did you ever meet him?
No, just like in video conferences back, because they actually had that back then. It seems like so long ago.
I met Todd McFarlane.
Oh, yeah, you did?
Yeah,
oh, that's cool. I actually never met him like one-on-one.
Yeah,
like
I met him, yo. Shook his hand and everything,
wow,
yo. Like,
cool.
yo, you're my like inspiration type.
What was your favorite?
Spider-Man.
Oh, you like when
Spider-Man, when he
McFarland was drawing Spider-Man.
When he was drawing Spider-Man,
wow.
I used to copy his drawings.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that was the shit that I was just like, I just loved the way his
yeah.
shadow, his everything, just the way he took Spider-Man. You know, gave him the big eyes, because that was all him.
Yeah, the big eyes, the spaghetti
eyes,
webbing.
Yeah, all of that. That was all him.
The contorted poses.
I met him. I went to a comic book convention when I was probably like 16 years old. You know?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know you were that deep into comics.
Yeah.
Man. Oh shit.
Were you also signed?
You also?
Signed.
Nah, not really. I'm not gonna lie. I've read comic books, but I wasn't really into it like that.
He signed two of my my McFarlane books that he did.
Oh wow. That's cool.
He signed both of them shits.
Throwing bottles in the street.
Yeah.
I was kind of borderline because I was outside
the guy that
all
was
the time.
too into it was kind of like weirdos.
So it was weird.
He was like,
he couldn't come outside. So
That's usually what
Get the fuck out of here.
You had a curfew.
No. Y'all didn't come to my side of the
he used to be in the window.
Yeah.
Y'all stood over there with the Chingalings and
With the
CCB.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He starts laughing. He starts laughing because he was down with CCB.
Yes. When you was buying comic books, how much were they? 25 cents? 35 cents?
Damn.
No, I'm asking you. 50 cents?
No.
Yeah.
I think when McFarlane was doing it, I think they were $1 by then.
About $1.
Yeah.
But I probably 75 cents. 75 cents.
Yeah.
You have a
McFarlane was $1.25. I think.
I mean, they used to have advertisement inside the comic books to order certain things.
Well,
like
the extra glass.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Because Or what was the other one? The sea monkeys. Remember the sea monkeys?
Sea monkeys. This shit didn't even work.
I never tried it.
This shit, I bought that shit.
Yeah?
It
didn't work?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yo, did you ever watch
I bought 3D glasses too.
Creep Show? Of course.
Of course. Yeah. I was just watching it this morning.
Yeah.
You know, they came on new ones,
I didn't
right?
know that. Nah.
They came on with new ones.
Okay.
They came on with 3 seasons right now.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
okay.
that's like
Where? On what?
Shudder.
Shutter.
That's the channel. The channel is called Shudder.
But it's cable?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But look it up, Google it, and you'll find it.
I love, man.
Yeah, I never ordered. I always wanted to, but I never
ordered
ordered.
The fake vomit.
The fake vomit.
The fake vomit. The whoopee cushion. The 3D glasses. It worked, yo.
X-ray glasses. X-ray glasses.
They worked.
It worked?
Nah,
You saw Bones?
Yeah, I tell you, he was a weirdo.
No, I brought it outside.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I brought it outside. He said, I didn't know it. I didn't know he was a weirdo.
No, it's funny, man, because you know,
That's very foul.
That's good shit.
No, it's crazy because like I was out skating. Like that was the first thing like I got into skateboarding.
Okay.
And that was always out, you know, like we're out all night skating and so that, you know,
I think that's bigger now, right? Skateboarding
is bigger now.
It's bigger now, right?
Because back then it was like such a unique thing for anybody to be into. It was a California thing.
Right.
But in the East Coast, nobody.
We wasn't doing that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But now it's worldwide. I mean, it's in the Olympics.
Graffiti? You did graffiti?
I did a little bit. Like I used to draw mugs and shit, but I never got into lettering and shit. I wasn't good at that. You remember Lou?
Lou the Freak.
Lou was great at.
Shout out to Lou the Freak.
Yeah.
Actually,
that's his tag name.
Lou the
we
Freak.
did a.
He's still doing stuff. You saw his Instagram?
Do you remember casting?
Yeah. What? Which one?
I think you casted me.
The buttons. I think we did your we took a mold of you for what reason? Because
we were doing something. You guys were gonna like, cause we speed knots, and you guys were gonna like make us look.
Knot it up. Yep.
Knot it up.
Yep.
And that's when you guys was using whatchamacallit.
The appliances, the latex.
Latex and all of that shit. Like these are those guys. Like this is fucking Nick what's the Nick Nicotero? What's his name? What's his name? What's his fucking name, man?
I can't. I know.
He does the Walking Dead and shit like that.
Yeah.
And he does Creep Joe too.
Yeah.
All right. So boom.
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah. Let's talk about this real quick.
Yeah. This always should be talked about because this is definitely Brooklyn and this is like growing up, you know, like and sorry, we'll put it here, maybe up in front. Yeah.
Put it closer, Pugzee.
Yeah.
Right.
So Pugzee is basically, you know, a story about Brooklyn. Like, you know, now it might be kind of a redundant story. So many people do things on it. Well, actually, really? Like the last OG, that's the premise straight up. Because Pugzee went to jail for many years, comes back, neighborhood is upside down. Like he thinks.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's the same last OG. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't even know.
Spider-Man up there.
Yeah. I when I saw that, I was like, it was bittersweet. You know what I'm saying? Because like I like the show. You know, it's funny. But I was like, damn, that's Pugzee right there.
Oh, it worked.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then what happened is like
and that's your thing.
Yeah.
That's your thing.
Yeah. And you know, he kind of like he was supposed to be a one-off, you know, because like 15 years ago there was this whole industry that was picking up like vinyl toys, right? Yeah. And it was like a generic shape, and then people would, you know, color them different ways and shit like that. It was real popular. So I was thinking, I'll do one, but of a pug, you know. And then I gave it to my painter at the time, and I was like, paint him with a striped shirt, you know, like I was thinking just straight up striped shirt.
Right.
And then she, you know, paints a prison jumper. And I was like, oh, shit, this is cool. I didn't expect that. Like, she surprised us. She thought I was at...
And that started your story.
Exactly, man. And then when I saw the prison jumper, I was like, damn.
Gave the light bulb.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing how it happened. So then, you know, like, through that, I was thinking, like, what's the story? You know, he gets, you know, he's from Brooklyn. He's Al Capone's pet dog. And he has the persona of Al Capone, you know what I'm saying? Like, because he used to roll with him, but then Capone went to Chicago and left him behind. We had a whole story of this. But then what happened? And then it was, like, introduced... It kind of led to other characters, and then it was like great excuse, like how many dog breeds you got? Over 400. I was thinking like the dog breeds are just like the different ethnicities, you know, and I'll just do that. And we were doing that for a while, and you know, then that Pugzee world was like contagious. Like anybody who's working at the studio wants to make a character. They had a dog, and then Juan got into it, and we started.
Shout out to Juan.
Yeah, Juan Ramos. You know, shout out to Juan. For sure.
Guy.
Yep, he got to be on here someday. And then so we got into, making this whole world. And we were like, yo, this is going to be a movie. But the basic premise at the time was that, he was coming back to Brooklyn, and with all the gentrification, this was, a bigger thing, like, 10 years ago for us. Because we're from the neighborhood, and we're seeing this thing. That's dope. And so we're looking at, from our perspective, we're here, because, like, we're still here, right? Like, everybody else left. And instead of leaving and seeing the neighborhood change, we actually see it change before our eyes, right? Like, you look in the corner. So for him, imagine, like, he's coming back, and then, he's thinking, like, oh, I'm going to go to the bar where my boys used to be. He goes, and it's like, Whole Foods or some shit. And then, so it's like, that was the whole, like, basic premise. And then he's kind of, like, lost in this new world. Like, what the fuck? What do I do now? I broke out of prison to come here, but this is worse. I was chilling in prison. So, because he was kind of like Al Capone, he was pampered and shit because he had his way. But anyway, when he's out in Brooklyn, and the next thing he has to do is build a crew. Because, so then he kind of, like, sees what's going on. He sees these other characters. And it is cool, man. Like, I wish I could really get into it one day because we have so much laid out with every character and all that.
Now, you decided to
transition into a game, right?
Right. Did you go to comic book game?
Pretty much. So, like,
or did you make a comic book?
Yeah, like, there's a comic book in there. But what happened is that with this thing is like there's so many like this is one of those things that is snowballed, right? And it became like unmanageable. Like all of a sudden we got 30 characters, and it's like, where do you go with this shit? Like, and then we were like, yo, we gotta like simplify this and do something with it. And then I had an intern that was at the studio, and she came up with the idea of like, let's make a video game of this. This would be perfect for video game. And then what happened with that is that it allowed us to simplify the cast. Because now you're just going to do the prison inmates instead of the whole neighborhood cast, Right. And it was great because then I was like, instead of 30 characters, we got it down to 8.
Right.
And then I know this awesome artist, and I was like, what would make this game dope is that if it had dope music. Which brings me to Ed.
Who's that?
Who's that? Yo, so Ed made this awesome, it's so crazy. So I was like, yo, Ed, we're going to do this game, and what about if you make the music? And it's weird because I'm asking him some shit, and I'm like, what is he gonna think about this? And then we had a conversation. I was like, look, his vibe, because he's an old dog. He's from like, the roaring 20s. Like he's really old. He's a dog years, so he's like 100 years old, right?
Who Ed?
Both.
Yeah, both. Yeah. And then so the vibe for Pugzee was gonna be like that 20s, that flapper style and that roaring 20s music. And then Ed, like, that's all I had to say to Ed. And then Ed was making these dope beats, incorporating, it's really cool. So we actually made this little demo game. It's only 4 levels because it takes a lot of work, man.
I went to your studio with him, and
do you remember when we were working on
it? Yeah, I seen it.
And so
I got the stickers in my house and everything.
Yeah, this was in the beginning, right?
Yeah, that was in the beginning. You gave him a toy already.
No, he ain't give me a toy. Well, you want the toy?
I got plenty, man. Like these things.
I got the stickers.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's crazy though. The best thing about that, so like what happens is like
we gotta interview that guy Ed. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's cool.
The guy Ed.
The guy Ed.
The music.
This dope artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened is like it takes so much work, right? We got it to a place, and then all of a sudden it's like we were in over our head. This is like something a studio will do,
right?
Like a full production studio. So we just put it to bed, forgot about it. And then, like, I don't know, 2, 3 years, 4 years go by. I open up the file, and I'm playing. I'm like, yo, the music makes it. So then I was like, because it kind of creates
music and the sounds, and definitely. That makes
it brings it all together.
It's like a horror movie.
Yeah. It brings it all together.
And the music is what makes you think. Yeah.
So I mean, like, hopefully we got that clip that we can.
Yeah. We'll play the clip. They'll play the clip real quick, right? Okay. And we'll come right back. All right. Foul talk. We'll play the clip, Pugzee clip, and we'll come right back. After the music.
So you said your team, right? You got a team, right?
Yeah.
A team of how many?
There's only three or four of us. Like it depends on how busy we get, but it's always a small crew. Okay. Like I didn't want to ever, you know, like get to a place where I'm not sculpting, you know.
Right.
Because that almost happens sometimes. Like sometimes I'm like just delegating the work. Like, okay, you work on this work. And it sucks, but, you know, sometimes we got to get it done.
That's what I said.
You know?
He's a good guy to work with because the passion. He's not just working because he got to make some money. He has passion. I want to do this.
Yeah, and you know what sucks
That's
too
great.
about that, man? Is like, you know, like the more you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's different now, right? It's like, damn, you know, like it's like you know, you talk to a company, you try to explain why, you know, this costs this much or whatever, but everybody's so used to fast, everybody wants cheap, and then they want everything, and at the end of the day, it's like, yo, if you want something in 3 days, it's not gonna be as good as something that I do in 2 to 3 weeks, you know.
Right.
And not that I will take that much time, but I like to absorb and digest it, live with it a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm not a
you know.
robot.
Yeah, exactly. And you pump shit out, it looks like that. And unfortunately, like if we got into a point, and this is like just my opinion about it, but I think, you know, most people don't even recognize like those subtleties that make something really cool.
Right.
And they're okay with it because they're like,
because
you know.
the first battle is always in the mind.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but
I appreciate your work, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the interview. Man. I'm glad you're interested.
So for the youth,
yeah,
you know, listen, you came from Park Slope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a kid with
a dream.
A kid with it. What? It wasn't even your dream, really. Was it your dream?
Not really.
It was just.
It was almost like an accident, really. It's like
It was a hobby that.
It was a hobby.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was a hobby.
It was a hobby. It was something that, you know, you entertain yourself, right?
Right, because we come from the shit, so it's like I gotta do something, otherwise I'm gonna be involved with the shits.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's one thing out there. I always like to draw. It was just
it's an escape.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I always like to.
And it's an escape, man.
But
you know?
like he was saying, to continue off of what he was saying, is like a kid that has a dream or a hobby that want to get into a career. What tip you could give the kid or something like that?
Man,
Like,
I say, like, you know, just don't get distracted, you know. Like right now, the biggest thing I notice is that everybody gets like pulled away from shit. Like you got to get lost, you know. You got to be working on shit for hours and days and lost in it and really like immersed in it. But if you constantly distracted and you're trying to do too much, like I you know, like fortunately, there weren't that many distractions when I was doing it. So I can't really like say that I had the strong will to just push everything aside. I really didn't have a choice, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think right now you're working against all that. And then, you know, so it's offset by the fact that you got tools to allow you to work quicker, like the digital shit we're talking about. So now you got all these awesome tools so you could do shit quicker.
Right.
But you got to really like still put in that time.
But you got a lot more distraction with social media, the internet.
Crazy distractions. Yeah, I get caught up in it too. And the thing is, you
TikTok.
yeah, it's a lot. And then don't get discouraged too. That's the other thing I'm saying, because people look at art, right? Like, look, you know, you look on Instagram, you see amazing artwork. You know, like people are super talented, and you just like could scroll for days looking at shit. But don't get discouraged. There's always room to be doing something new, a different interpretation. So I think, like, you know, if you're into something, just do it. Don't feel like, oh, somebody already did it and they did it
that's
well. You know?
That's one thing that as a youth, when I used to look at things, even on TV, a baseball player, an actor, whatever it was, I never thought it was reachable.
Right. Yeah. I could see that. Yeah.
Right. But that's all. When you come from, you know what I mean?
So like I said, I used to love to draw, but every time I started to draw, I would take a paper, crumble. It's not perfect at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And they don't start perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So, exactly. It doesn't. And you'd be surprised because like everybody shows their perfect work. Like everybody shows like, but you know what? That's shifting.
Shows their perfect work.
Yeah. They see the ending. They don't see the
exactly
work.
The process. But it's shifting though, because I do see a lot of like, you know, postings of progress. Like people show like their steps and how they get there, and that's
I see you posting that too.
I was trying to show that. Yeah,
you post that. You be posting your digital work.
Yeah, and all the messed up shit, like the clay that's like sucky.
That's great. I think
because it's kind of like cool to see that.
Right,
you know,
it's inspirational.
Right, because you see the final product is like, damn, I can't do that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy discouraging.
Getting there, it's
no, that's great. Yeah. Continue that.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you, bro. We appreciate your work.
Definitely appreciate your work.
Definitely appreciate you.
Appreciate
your work,
coming to the podcast to give us the interview.
And motivating these kids. What's your so they can check out your work. You got you have an Instagram.
Yeah, the best place is maybe go to Cortes Studio. That's 2 S's in the middle. It's not Cortez with a Z, Cortez with an S Studio on Instagram. And then pretty much everything is there, but if there's also a website which is cortesstudio.com. And then, there's a ton of sites. There's davecortes.com. Like, I have a whole batch of work that, is very different from anything we've seen and stuff like that. But that's my own, personal journey with work, like just trying to figure out.
Right.
But if you're interested, check it out.
Check it out. Follow him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody? I did music on Pugzee.
Yes,
definitely.
And you know what?
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
And what I'm trying to do, one last thing, is I'm trying to, get to a point, because look, we were doing this as amateurs, right? So if I could get this game crunched down so that you can download it, I'm going to make it a free download eventually. Because right now it's like 3 gig, 4 gig. But if I could get it so it's small enough where you can download it on the phone, because I think that just to hear the music is dope on it, Some dope beats on there. But yeah, thank you for making that, man. Making that happen.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Also, one thing before we take pictures and everything, but we never done this before, but I would like for you to sign.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. You got something?
You got a pen? See if I can find a pen or something.
It's a good
like
idea,
that.
too.
Oh, marker or something like that. That's dope.
We're going to start it off with Dave.
Yeah, let Dave start that off. That's dope. That's actually really dope. All right. Well, we'll get to that. We'll do it, and people will see that on the next show. Dave will be up on the board. But welcome. I mean, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Dave.
Yo, thank you, man.
Thank you for coming.
Definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, and I hope we can do something else with some updates and
definitely. Maybe you can make Foul Talk characters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know what I'm saying?
With the set right here.
Some bobbleheads.
The set right here. That'd be crazy.
Just put it right there in the corner. Me and Charlie.
Coming soon. Yeah. Well, we'll do the scanning when I'm come through next time.
Yeah. All right, Foul Talk. Another one for the books. This is nice.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. You the man. Love you.
All right,
Foul Talk. Woo, we out.